Hello, my friends. Hello, it's Matthew Street, and welcome to my channel. And folks, I am so happy you're here because, folks, I was not going to make a video today. I really had no plans. I've done no preparation for this, but something struck me today while I was at work driving around, and I said, what's it? I was writing some stuff that, it's August 15th, 2023. Wow, what's the significance of that date in this Beatle brain, this Beatle mind of mine, this Beatle maniac madness that hits me every day? What is the significance of today's date? Will someone tell me, please? Well, then it hit me, folks. It hit me August 15th, 1965. Today's date, all those years ago, what is it, 58 years now? Oh my goodness, 58 years, folks. The Beatles live at Shea Stadium in, Flushing, Queens, New York City, borough of New York City. The Beatles at Shea Stadium. And folks, the world, the concert world anyway, the music world anyway, has never been the same. Because the impact of this concert, the significance of it, how it affected me as that young little boy when it happened and hearing about it and hearing the tales of Shea Stadium, it changed everything for me, folks. I don't know about you, but it was just one of the most impactful musical events that ever happened up to that point. And even though there's been bigger events since, yes, more bombastic, more fans, more in attendance in the hundreds of thousands of some of these stadium and outdoor shows today, I'm sorry. How many of those can you really name? But in the musical world, in the world of Beatle fans, this, with its own, 55,000 or whatever it was in attendance, but the impact of this will always be far greater than those shows with 100,000, 150,000, 200,000. I don't care if Taylor Swift plays 10 shows in a row at Gillette Stadium up the road here in Foxborough and sells out every one of them. Not one of those shows will ever have the cultural, social, musical, and important impact that this one little show had all those years ago on the world. No, they won't. This is something special, folks. And let me tell you, when I was a little kid and hearing the tales and hearing my cousins tell me about Shea Stadium when I got a little older, and there was never anything official released back in the day, folks, so you had to hear stories about her. You'd see little clips here and there, sometimes on TV. The earliest things I remember of Shea Stadium was in the 1970s, in the early 70s, and going to those late night showings of Beatle films. I don't know who used to put them on. Remember those things? You'd go to a theater late at night, it'd be dark, and a man at the front door would greet you with a dark overcoat and a fedora, black fedora, wearing sunglasses, and he'd rip your ticket for you and let you come on in. Do you remember those days you wanted to see some really cool Beatles footage and how you had to do it? Well, that's how I remember first seeing Shea Stadium. And the quality would never be good. It'd be a scratchy image, and maybe the sound wasn't perfect. But you'd go to those late night showings at the old movie theater, and you'd be there with other Beatle fans freaking out, having fun, partying, jumping up and down, whooping, hollering when the Beatles came on the screen. It was unbelievable. And Shea Stadium probably had the biggest impact of all the little footage that I saw. Unbelievable. Years later, I'm in the service, and I'm with my roommate, Chris. I've talked about Chris before, lifelong friends, still friends with Chris all these 40 plus years later. 1979 to 1982, I'm in the Air Force over in the UK. Great experience, as I've told you. And there was no cell phones then. There was no YouTube or, bootleg DVDs or even VHS tapes you could get then easily in 1979 if you wanted to see Shea Stadium or something like that by the Beatles. No, what you had to do is, what I did, because I thought of the idea, I went down to the library on base, and I used to I'd sign out this little 8mm film. All right, any of you that are, older like me, you know what I'm talking. An 8 little metal canister with 8mm film inside of it, and then you'd have to rent the little 8mm crappy projector, and then figure out how to set it up in your dorm room, and we'd tape a sheet to the wall or something, or paper, or whatever we did. We'd call a bunch of our buddies down. A bunch of the guys would come down that were into music and the Beatles. We'd get a couple of cases of beer. We'd buy a bunch of snacks, get some chili dogs, pizza, whatever the heck we were eating, and we rocked out to Shea Stadium in our little dorm room time and time and time again. I can't tell you how many times we had Shea Stadium parties like that in my little dorm room in the Air Force, and people getting buzzed, and it just a great, wonderful time. When I say buzz, no drugs, folks. We were veterans, military. Couldn't do that stuff or you get booted. In those days, you got booted for that stuff. No, but we were teetotaling, okay? We were drinking the beer and the wine and the mixed drinks and having the crackers and the pizza and the hamburgers and the chili dogs and all popcorn and all that. And we watched Shea Stadium over and over and over again. And we freaked out and went nuts. We went nuts. And to this day, my roommate Chris, when we talk once in a while and call each other, we'll bring up the old Shea Stadium dorm parties that we had, okay? They were so much fun. So I've always had a special place in my heart for this concert, folks. And over the years, this isn't a video to show you my Shea Stadium stuff. That's not what we do here on the Matthew Street channel. We like to show emotion and talk about things and have an opinion and tell stories, not just show stuff. That's not all we do here. We like to do other stuff. My paper's falling here. We like to talk about fan club only issues like this. This is how I could see Shea Stadium. Oh, in the day, I'd have to get little things like this. Here's the inside sleeve, a little secret thing you get somewhere. It's a fan club only. It's unofficial, Shea Stadium on DVD. I used to have a Shea Stadium on VHS. Don't know where it is. Oh, and then I got other ones like this, the Beatles, the live concerts where you got Washington Coliseum, the 2 Japanese shows at Budokan, and you got Shea Stadium as well. All of them on one glorious DVD. There's Shea up here and the others, okay? So stuff like that. I'm just trying to give you a flavor. And if I wanted to hear it audio-wise, I'd have to get stuff like this. This is one of the earliest ones I got. Sound quality's horrible. Beatles at Shea and Candlestick Park. And there it is. That's what you got. And there's the inside, okay? Beatles, Shea, Candlestick Park, stuff like that I would get. There's a great book out there. There's other books too, but this happens to be the one I have by Dave Schwensen. Dave Schwensen. The Beatles at Shea Stadium, the story behind their greatest concert ever. And I agree with Dave. The greatest concert ever. Look at that. Look at that image. And there's Paul and Ringo on the back. I think Ringo's there. Yeah, he's in the corner there. There's Ringo. What a treat this book is. I know there's other Shea books. I'm not trying to slight anybody. This just happens to be one I grabbed. There's other Shea books. I know. They're fabulous. This one has some pictures in there. Goes into the history, interviews people. It's a fabulous book if you want to learn about Shea. That great date, this day, 1965. Okay, so let me tell you some more stories first about Shea. So I got the bootlegs and stuff. Nothing official yet. We still haven't gotten any official on this thing yet. But damn, thank goodness for the anthology, huh? Back in 95. Thank goodness for that anthology. Wouldn't you say, folks? Because we got some audio of Shea, but we also got those great video snippets that were cleaned up. Remember that? We got them in the anthology. The quality was superb, restored. Again, snippets, not the whole show, not fleshed out. The audio was still kind of the same, not the greatest quality, but they did the best they could for the technology back during the anthology days, and I loved it. Who remembers that in the mid-90s? Wow, that was absolutely fantastic. Another Shea Stadium story. Fast forward years later, and now Ron Howard is getting together and he's putting out 8 days a week. The Beatles Live project he did several years ago, back in 2016 or something. And what do you know? It was being played in theaters, and I sure as hell had to go and see it. I'm telling you, I had to be there. And so I went. My brother was there, a friend of mine was there, and we loved it. And the treat was, at the end, if you went to the theater, now if you get 8 days a week on DVD now, you don't get this little extra bonus. at the theaters, after the Ron Howard film was over, who remembers this? If you sat there, you got to see a restored version of the Shea Stadium concert. Oh my goodness, I was in heaven, Beatle heaven. I couldn't believe that we had to see in the big screen with the sound. It was, if you never experienced that, folks, you don't know what you're missing. Take every opportunity to do that when you get a chance. Theater showings after the Ron Howard film of Shea Stadium. But still nothing official yet. We still don't have anything official. So I was forced to get things like this, little better quality DVDs. This one's called Beatles Live at Shea Stadium. Where else? Look at that nice cover. They even made it like kind of like the New York Mets. There's Shea Stadium. And then you got a lot of material on this. I'm going to hope it will focus in for you. You can freeze it. That's what you get on it. Beatles at Shea. A nice little image there. The Beatles running onto the subway to get to Shea. Really cool stuff. Nice little custom label. Beatles at Shea. This is the kind of stuff we're forced to get. I'm sorry, Apple, Beatles, whoever, don't get mad at me, but this is what I'm forced to do until you give me an official copy. And now with the Peter Jackson, what is it, malware, AI, whatever, technology, there's no reason we can't get a cleaned up, pristine audio and video on this film. And I know because of the legacy of this, it's culturally significant. Even kids would love to see this. Old Beatle fans would love to see this. Come on, let's go. Stop forcing us to buy stuff like this, will you? Let's go. And last but not least, I want to show you this. I even went further when I had this kind of a crappy audio sounding thing from way back in the 80s or something. But then I got this. Ooh, this was even better. Beatles and the great concert at Shea Stadium. Wow, the Beatles, the complete Shea Stadium. The complete with the opening acts and everything on this one, folks. This is like a 2 DVD set. You cannot believe it. I don't know how it's going to translate, but I'll do my best here if you want to freeze. Nice little images on the back. All right, I'm doing my best. If you can freeze, I'm holding it as steady as I can for you. This is absolutely stunning. You open it up. Custom label again. All right, on the first CD, custom label, John looking to the sky. On the second one, the girls at the fence. That always amazed me as a little kid to see girls hanging off of a security fence so they couldn't get to the Beatles. And then you get another, not really a booklet with it, but kind of it talks a little bit about the concert. I'll show this to you if I can get it out of here. Yeah, there we go. You do get a little mini booklet with it, talking about the significance of the concert. I'm almost out of here, folks. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I just get excited. It's August 15th. It's Shea Stadium Day. Come on. What are you worried about? You got nowhere to go. It's Shea Stadium Day. You're going to listen to Shea Stadium after this, aren't you? Come on. Look at this thing. Look at this thing. It's absolutely wonderful. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yep. Double CD of the complete Shea Stadium concert. I have other stuff, folks. I know I have other books that talk about it. I know. But like I said, nothing official yet. But we have to acknowledge this date. We have to acknowledge this wonderful concert, folks. Shea Stadium, this date, back in 1965. The greatness of it. The bombast. It was so bombastic and huge and at the time. And there's such a legend to this concert. It's like, you know, I tell my young grandson sometimes about Beatle concerts like this and what happened there and the security fences and people trying to climb them and running on the outfield and he just sits there with like his mouth open like, really? Was that real? Like, yeah, it was real. This was real. And I look forward to someday having an official copy of it so I can, you know, show my young grandson what it was all about, and he can see a beautiful image of the Shea Stadium concert. These aren't bad, though. Maybe I'll show him one of these that I have here. That one's not bad. But you know what I'm saying, folks? Anyway, folks, that's all. I'm sorry. I've been rambling on here 15 minutes. All right, forgive me. For those of you still here, then you must like me. You must really like me if you're still here. But I'm going to go now, but I'm going to go put on some Shea Stadium because it's the Shea Stadium Day. We need to celebrate it. It's significant. It's important. And that's what I'm going to do, and I hope you'll join me. Love you all. Bye-bye.